I'm telling you, the curse of Superman is real, man. It is. Anybody who plays that role gets shafted somehow.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the newest venture on Take 3. This is, of course, Rhyme and Reason, the podcast about everything important that you didn't know was important. I am half of your host, Matthew Kearns, and my other half is my good old buddy, Sandy Robinson. Sandy, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. I've been so excited about this ever since we came up with this idea to do this together. I've been just chomping at it. We've been talking about it back and forth a couple times. We've been promoting it, so it's been right on the forefront. So this is going to be great. I think we're going to have a really good time with this. So I can't wait to get number one under our belts.
Yeah, I think the thing for all the listeners and viewers is, this podcast is it's not Claire Movie Talk. It's not Claire Live. It's not the Take 3 Live show. It is two friends who are just going to talk about shit we like. And by the way, there's cursing on here. You bet, because we're going to get very intense into stuff we talk about. But this is not going to be limited to movies. Me and Sandy we're talking about movies today, but we'll talk about TV. We're huge hockey fans. Hockey season starts in 3 weeks. We're gonna have numerous conversations about this. So I'm looking forward so much. And if you guys ever have any suggestions about news topics, movies, TV shows that you want us to talk about, drop them in the comments, and maybe we'll do it. Maybe we won't. I don't know.
And that's the thing. Everybody, everybody, when you watch this, we want your opinions. We want your advice. We want you to send us those comments. Give us topics to talk about, because it's not just we're going to talk about everything. Everything that we like, that we think everybody else should like. That's why we named it that. That's the way it is. So, you know what? If you think there's something that we should talk about that people should like, and we should talk about it, we want to hear about it, because we're just two guys. We don't encapsulate the whole world of ideas. So send them on over.
Yeah, and the other thing is this is the most open show on Take 3 as of right now, because the live show, well, I would say the live show is probably the second most, but they still have, they talk about the movie news, Gone with the Wind, is that Manning's podcast? I'm used to the old name, but, Manning's award show. That's all about movie awards. You have Sunday Soundtracks, it's all about movie musicals. Schmoedown stuff is, of course, all movies, whereas this, it's whatever we want to talk about. We want to, and I'm really excited to do this with Sandy. Sandy is a guy who I met fairly recently. I have to say, it's been only a couple months, but it was one of those immediate connections between us. And we just, after, it was a reaction when we first met, and just afterwards, it was just bop, 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 and we just realized, hey, we like pretty much all the same shit. And then,
he's not lying, guys. It was literally that. It was like a bolt of lightning. We just started talking about stuff, and then I would finish his sentences. He would finish mine. We'd be talking about the same things. We'd allude into the next the topic seamlessly between the two of us. Regardless of the age difference between the two of us, I feel that we share, a similar soul. That we have similar tastes, similar things that we love. And and that's what's going to make this show so special is just the camaraderie that we have between each other is going to show, and we hope that you guys like it too. So
I mean, literally, to show the behind the scenes, this is how this show happened. So if you guys don't know, this show was originally going to be an Outlaw Nation type. It was going to be, because I always wanted there to be a very open show on this network. I wanted there to be something where I want to talk about hockey, I could talk about hockey. I want to talk about the World Series, I could talk about the World Series. And so I was going to do that. And then literally 2 weeks ago, Sandy, me, Malcolm, we're on a reaction. After the reaction, we're all BSing around, and I make a joke. I go, man, Sandy, you and me should just set up a weekly Skype call to just talk. And then I literally stop myself and go, there's a podcast here. And this is the podcast, guys.
Exactly. It's exactly how it happened. There's exactly how it happens. Like, yeah, we should just sit around and just bullshit just on a Skype call once a week, just to be buddies and just hang out and talk about crap that we like. And
yeah, and then I was like, wait a second, if you record it and put it on the channel, now it's a show. And listen, we're going to have guests. I already talked to Malcolm. We have an idea that we're working on. It depends on if Sandy has seen a certain show, which we could get into maybe a little bit later on. But Abe is one of my favorite people in the world. Probably going to get Abe on here because Abe loves anything where he can be unfiltered and uncensored. So we're probably, that's going to be the one where if you listen to the show with kids, I'm assuming that's going to be something sexual. I'm assuming. Like, I feel like me, Sandy, and Abe are all going to talk about the first time we saw, like, movie boobs or something. Which, by the way, Linda Hamilton, Terminator, 6th grade, never forget it.
Porky, buddy. Porky's was it for me. So the first time I ever saw movie boobs was Porky's.
That is an intro to our show. I don't know what the hell it is. But okay, so the topic that we have as the title is favorite movies. So I want to get into that. So Sandy, I'm going to let you go first. What would you consider to be, because we have actually Manning's show is doing, he's doing a bracket of Take 3's favorite movies. And at the end of this bracket, we're going to find out what is Take 3's favorite film. The infighting has already begun amongst us, and it's tearing us apart. But Sandy, you're tearing us apart, Manning. But Sandy, what would you say is your favorite film?
It may shock a lot of people because a lot of people know me and they hear me, they see me here on these type of shows, and I talk about movies all the time. And I'm mostly a geeky movie fan. I mean, I love the Star Warses, the Star Treks, the Lord of the Rings, the Harry Potters. I'm big fans of those. But my favorite movie of all time, to rewatchability and just how fantastic it is It's a Wonderful Life. It's my #1 favorite movie of all time. So I love that movie, not because it's just a Christmas movie, because it is, and I love Christmas. It's one of my favorite times. It's the message that movie gives. Like a lot of you people know that I've been sick and I've been dealing with an injury that I've had for the past little while, and it can be really easy to get down on yourself, and this is what that movie signifies. It tells us that you can get down, you can get way down, you can go really, really far down, but if you look at the alternative, it could be a whole lot worse than you think it could be. And that type of message is something that I really try to live my life with. So this is why It's a Wonderful Life is my favorite movie of all time, because it just fills you with that human spirit that you want everybody to have. You want everybody to be there. You love thy neighbor, help each other out. It takes a community to build a family. All of that stuff is in this movie, and I hearken back to that time when we could all be friends and do things where we all care about one another. So that's my favorite movie. How about yours, buddy?
My favorite classic film of all time is It's a Wonderful Life. It is in my top 20 favorite movies. It is my favorite Christmas movie. George Bailey is in my top 5 favorite characters.
Yeah.
The thing I love about that movie is, and I did about a year ago, you can find on the Movie Fandom show, guys, because I'm just all about plugs here. I did it was kind of a pilot of what Second Look was going to be. I did a whole video essay on It's a Wonderful Life. You guys can go and check it out. But the thing that I love about that movie is it's not a fake depiction of life. Like, Christmas movies are listen, Christmas is my favorite holiday. It is my favorite. Winter, being a New Yorker, I love wintertime. Yeah, do I hate digging out my car of snow? Yes. But when it's not like that, I love the music. I love everything about that season, and It's a Wonderful Life. The thing I love is it's not a Hallmark movie. Like, Hallmark Christmas movies are usually like, oh, aren't we all so happy in our perfect little world? It's like, It's a Wonderful Life is a dark movie. It's a dark movie, but it's real. You have a guy who, the night he's fallen in love, his dad's a heart attack and dies. He gets married, and he's about to go and travel the world like he wants to, and oh shit, the bank is about to take over, and if Mr. Potter rules everything, everyone's going to be fucked. And the thing about George Bailey is, he is a hero. Yeah, I mean, George Bailey is, if you were, I know AFI did their list. I forget where he ranked, but he is top 10 movie heroes. But the
I believe it is in the top 10 for sure.
Because the thing about George Bailey is he's a real guy. He has angers. The scene when his buddy from New York comes to visit him, and he's in his fancy ass car and all this stuff. When they leave, George just like kicks the door of his shitty car. Like, he's a real person. He gets pissed. He's not putting on a facade of good. Like, at his core, he is a good person. He's trying to help people, but like, he gets temptations from Potter and all that. But the thing is, there's something just we can all look up to George. We all could try to be like George. And at the end of the movie, it is really upsetting when George gets to that point. It's upsetting because you go, no, but the greatest and the underlying theme of that movie is you make a mark on every person you meet. It doesn't matter. If you were taken out of this person's life, who knows what it could be like. And the thing I love is you have this character who, he has put so much of the world on his shoulders that he thinks killing himself is going to help everyone, when in actuality it's going to hurt. And that's a message that I think everyone could learn. Because I think we do all have those moments where it's like, if I wasn't here, everything would be better off. I mean, that movie is on it's on my short list of movies that I've cried at. I remember 7th grade, NBC, first time I saw the movie. Didn't want to watch, of course. I wanted to watch Indiana Jones or something, but my parents made me sit down and watch this movie, and I have watched it every Christmas since. I used to have to wait until it was on NBC. I just bought the Blu-ray last year, so now I can watch it whenever the heck I want. Such a brilliant movie.
So I looked it up on the AFI's 100 in 100, and it's actually number 20, which I think is criminally insane that it's that far down the list. But I mean, if you're talking,
that's also the same list where Luke Skywalker isn't on it. But
yeah,
AFI over here.
But I mean, I think that you absolutely hit it on the head. I think at the beginning, we see it because George makes sacrifices throughout the whole movie. Like when he graduates high school, it's I'm going to go and fly away, but he stays instead, lets his brother go to school. So and then he joins the army, so he can't leave then because that's when his brother was supposed to come back, and then his dad dies and he has to take it over. And we see that. And George, for most of the movie, is very, very singularly minded, very, very small world minded. He's only thinking about him and what he can do in his small little world. And that's when you said, like, he thinks he's making things better, by thinking about jumping off the bridge. But in the grander scheme of things, when we see Clarence take him back and show what the world would be like without him, I think then he starts to really realize that George is actually affecting more people, and the more people you affect, the farther out it goes from your little circle until you are affecting people on a global level. or even on a national level. Like, it doesn't have to be so much as global, especially back then. But to see just how many people come back and help him in the end and try to do that.
I'm sorry.
Really
goosebumps every time.
Every time.
The door opens and
Every time.
It's Uncle Billy. Mary Date's telling, they're just dumping, and it's, oh my, I'm starting to get goosebumps, and I'm crying right now.
Like the auditors who are coming to arrest them because of the thing, they even start chucking money in.
They put the money in, and then the
bell on the tree.
Sawyer book, and it's, God, that movie is amazing.
I know.
And when it's, so man, guys, when it gets to December, me and Sandy are just we're gonna do a whole episode of Christmas movies.
Episode, yep.
But, so, my favorite movie of all time is, I did a tweet about this a couple months ago. My favorite movie of all time really is the first 6 Star Wars movies. If I'm being truthfully honest, if I pick one, it's Empire. Empire, because Empire encapsulates everything that I love about Star Wars. It is the good versus evil, but not so black and white. There are dimensions to the characters. There is great action. There's some of the greatest film music you will ever hear. But it's all wrapped in a story that is so relatable. And Luke Skywalker is my favorite fictional character of all time. And he, the way he's portrayed in that movie, he is young. Like, he's in his mid-20s in that movie, and it's such a relatable thing of, I don't care if you're 15 or you're 95, you can relate to Luke in that movie. You can relate to I want to do these things, but there are these things precluding me, and I want to help my friends, but I also want to train, and Vader is one of the greatest on-screen villains of all time in that movie. He is just no holds bar, and just everything about that movie just reminds me why I love movies. Yeah, Empire, but really, by extension, the first 6 Star Wars movies, that's the reason why I'm sitting here, is those, and listen, I love Rogue One. It is my number 3 favorite Star Wars movie. I enjoy Last Jedi, and I like parts of The Force Awakens. But the Star Wars saga, which I still refer to the saga as the first 6 movies, that is my favorite film of all time. That is the reason why I'm on Take 3. That is the reason why I'm a media and communications major, and I want to do something in film, is because those movies I saw at a time in my life. I mean, I was 3 years old. Well, no, I was 2.5 when I saw Phantom Menace. And people often ask how you remember that, and I go, well, I don't quite. It's only because my 3rd birthday was Star Wars themed. It was all the Phantom Menace stuff, because that was the one that was out, and then I was a prequel generation kid. I saw episode 2 and 3 in theaters, which episode 3 might be the single greatest film experience in a theater I've ever had. Like, it just, I know it's not the last Star Wars movie, but you have to remember, I was in 2nd, 3rd grade when that movie came out. It was the last Star Wars movie. I mean, you gotta remember, it was 10 years. I was in 2nd, 3rd grade when Revenge of the Sith came out. I was a freshman in college when Force Awakens came out. So yes, it was the last Star Wars movie for a very long time. And I remember, because of my dad's job, I got to see it May 18th, the day before it was released wide. My mom picked me and my brother up from school, and my sisters from their school. I had my Anakin Skywalker costume on. We went into the city to see it in a huge New York AMC theater. There were no previews. It was just the movie, and it was so amazing and so gripping, and it's an experience that I can still recall because I love Star Wars that much. So
it makes me so happy when I hear somebody younger talk about Star Wars the way you talk about Star Wars, and it makes me happy because it really is a series of movies that have endured, through almost as much time as we can remember. Star Wars changed the world. It changed our lexicon of how we talk, and the words we use, the phrases that we use, the quotes that we use. They all come from Star Wars. Empire Strikes Back is my number 2 favorite movie of all time, just underneath It's a Wonderful Life. And I have, due to my advanced age, I have seen every single Star Wars movie in the theater. I was 6 actually when my mom took me to see Star Wars. It was the first movie I'd ever gone and seen in the theater, and she took me to see that, and I remember it. I remember going to the little theater in Montreal that was right down the block from where we lived, and I saw Empire in the theater. I saw Return in the theater. I saw Episode 1 and 2 in the theater, and I'm going to concur with you. My favorite movie-going Star Wars experience was Revenge of the Sith. We lined up at about 5 o'clock p.m., me and my cousin and his wife and our friends up in Edmonton, and we had our chairs, we had our fake lightsabers. We just had the cheapo plastic ones, but we all had one, and we were all waving them around and having a good time. The whole group you'd see people in costume coming down, and everybody was, there was fake lightsaber battles in the street because they had it all blocked off. And then 12:01 hit, and we all sat down. And the minute that Lucasfilm logo pops up, the crowd goes banana fest. And then the crawl, then the Star Wars, then the crawl, and people are cheering and screaming. It didn't matter. It didn't matter that people didn't like Episode 1. They hated Jar Jar. It didn't matter that they didn't like Episode 2 because they hated all the clones and that stuff. People still went to these movies, and regardless of what the last one was, that's what Star Wars fans thrive on. Leia says it multiple times. It's in the title of the first one, hope. It gives us geeky people, us fanboys, hope. Because you want the next movie to be the best Star Wars movie that you've ever seen. You want it to be the next Empire Strikes Back. You want those things. And so you walk into a movie like that, and everybody has such hope. And you said Luke Skywalker as your favorite fictional character. Darth Vader is mine. Ever since I saw him walk through those doors, and just grab that captain and throw him up against the wall. He's been my favorite character of all time, and from my standpoint, the Star Wars movies, all of them, have been, up until Force Awakens and Last Jedi, have been about, to some extent still too, have been about Darth Vader and his journey. It starts from little Anakin all the way to Return of the Jedi with his death, and then we still see remnants of him in the Force Awakens, and he's still talked about in Last Jedi a little bit. So I couldn't agree with you more of having this, and I couldn't agree with you more of lumping them all together as one gigantic movie, because I do that too. I do that with Lord of the Rings. I consider the Lord of the Rings one movie. It's not Fellowship, Two Towers, and Return. It's one Lord of the Rings movie, and so it always kills me when I have to pick one to put on a list. So it is, and that's with this one. I agree with you. I count the entirety of all Star Wars as one story that George Lucas created a long time ago, and in a galaxy far, far away. So, great choice, man. It's a fantastic. What is your favorite part? What is your favorite part of Empire? What is your absolute, that you would, if you only could go to one scene on a Blu-ray forever, what is the one scene that you would take?
It is my favorite movie scene out of any film ever. It is the cave scene from Empire.
Nice.
It is... There is no dialogue. It is all visual and music. John Williams' score in that scene, and it is just... I love how it's the first time we ever get a slowed down lightsaber duel, and just when the helmet bursts open and the smoke clears and you see Luke's face, and then it holds on Mark Hamill. And Mark Hamill doesn't get nearly enough credit that he should in those movies, specifically in Empire.
Yeah.
He does everything with just that face of, oh God. Because the thing is, to me, how I've always interpreted the cave is, Yoda says, because Luke goes, what's in there? And Yoda says, only what you take with you. You know, your weapons, you do not need them. I have always looked at that as, because I've talked to some people and they think that Vader shows up because Luke takes his weapons and, you know, all that. I go, I think Yoda's not saying physical stuff that you take with you. It's what you take with you inside. And what Luke carries with him through Empire, through pretty much from when he sees Vader kill Ben Kenobi till I am your father, Luke carries this thing of Vader is he is evil incarnate. He's everything I'm against. He's everything I don't want to be. But in that moment, it's the fear of Vader was a Jedi. Vader was a Jedi like my father and like Ben. And I, considering myself to be a Jedi, I can still fall down that path because Luke's greatest fear is not Vader, it's becoming Vader. And in that moment, he literally sees himself becoming Vader. It's perfect. It's just perfect. What is your favorite scene in Star Wars?
I'll touch on your scene just for a second and then bring mine up. Because we actually have very similar scenes. It's going to be scary. Once again, guys, this is why we're doing this together.
Why we're friends.
It's absolutely freaking uncanny. I love your scene. For me, it always was that. It was, you know, when he says, only what you bring with you. That's the perfect thing. And then he gives him that sideways glance like, yeah, sure, okay, I'm strapping. You know, and he puts all the stuff and he goes in there and then he sees exactly what he fears. And his greatest fear is no longer Darth Vader, but it's becoming Darth Vader. And he doesn't truly understand that until the end of the movie when we get the I am your father. And then he realizes what happened in the cave was, oh shit, that's why that showed me that. I didn't understand it at the time, but now I understand it, and that's why he's, you know, wants to get back to the training. My favorite scene from Empire Strikes Back, a lot of people would say, because it's my favorite quote from almost any movie, is, you know, no, I am your father. Let's not gloss over that scene at all. That scene is fantastic, and the fact that nobody except James Earl Jones, George Lucas, and Mark Hamill knew what was actually being said, because if you watch the special features...
Well, Irvin Kershner also knew.
Yeah, and Irvin, yeah, exactly. But my favorite scene is when on Dagobah, when R2 starts flipping out and the X-Wing is sinking into the water, and Luke goes over there and he's like, okay, I'll try. No, do or do not. There is no try. And then he tries, he fails miserably, he huffs and puffs, and he flops down on the ground like a spoiled little kid. And he's like, you want the impossible. And then Yoda just goes, all right, la 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 la, and lifts her up, and he comes back over, and he's like, I can't believe it. And Yoda just looks at him and goes, and that is why you fail. It is such a good scene, because it literally sets up everything that is to come in 50 movies from that, is that you cannot think of yourself as just this linear being. You have the Force inside of you. You have to believe in the Force to be able to move forward. If you can't lift this, like, it doesn't matter that this thing weighs 10 trillion pounds. It shouldn't matter at all. You can stop a Star Destroyer if you want to, because it's all interconnected, and you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in the Force, because if you don't, you're always going to fail. And I think that's the difference between Jedi and Sith, is that Sith just uses raw power, and if something doesn't work, frick it, just move on to the next thing and use that power. Whereas a Jedi will commune with the Force and let the Force guide his motions, and a lot of times that, you know, and it works perfectly. So yeah, like the Dagobah, I think all of Dagobah, the training stuff is probably my favorite part of Empire, because I really dug it.
Yeah, it's great. And to jump off your point, the Yoda lines in that, just, you know, luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. For my ally is the Force, you know, and it is that thing of, like, you can't look at it and go, well, the ship's sinking, I can't pull it up because it's, like you said, 10 trillion tons, and it goes back to, like you said, the difference between how the Jedi use the Force and the Sith. The Jedi use the Force as their ally to help them. The Sith use it as just power. It's just power. It's just a way to get more and more power. We see that constantly with all... Count Dooku says, I become more powerful than any Jedi, even you. Anakin in Revenge of the Sith, he's turned because there is this lust for this power. All the Dagobah stuff is so brilliant, and again, Mark Hamill does not get the credit that for months on end, well, for weeks, I guess, not months, for weeks, it was him and Frank Oz underneath a stage with a puppet where they had to wear earpieces and Mark Hamill had to pretend like this is a real thing. And he did. You believe it because Mark Hamill makes you believe it.
I will challenge anybody and I will fight anybody that says that if they actually immerse themselves in the movie and aren't looking for faults, if they're just enjoying the movie, you find me one place in Empire Strikes Back where Yoda, you don't believe is Yoda. Like, I don't look at Yoda and see a puppet when I watch the movie. I see Yoda. That's what I see. And that's a credit not only to Frank Oz's, puppeteering and how well he did, but it's also a massive credit to Luke. It's to Mark Hamill for making us believe that he believed that it was Yoda, so we believed that it was Yoda. And you're right. Like, Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill himself doesn't get enough credit over the entire trilogy. I mean, he gets crapped on because he was a whiny kid in Star Wars.
One line.
I know.
People encapsulate his entire performance just, I was going to Toss Station to pick up some power converters. And I'm like,
18 years old, people.
He's 19, and the whole point is he's a dumb 19-year-old kid that's his start of his arc. Because that same 19-year-old kid who just wanted to go to Tosh Station is the same one that by the end of the movie blows up the freaking Death Star. That's the whole point.
That's the point. He's got to have a starting spot, and that starting spot is where every single one of us was at 19, 18 years old. You try to tell me, your parents try to tell you to do something when you're 18 years old, and you just say, God, come on, I was supposed to meet my friends at the 7-Eleven or wherever.
Yeah.
We've all done it. So to jump all over Mark Hamill, like, what should he have said? What should he have said, fans? Should he have said, hey, no, I need you to go to, but I was going to go to Tossie State, or should he just went, yeah, you're right. I'm 18. I've got responsibilities. Yeah, okay, Uncle Ben. I'll go into, or not Uncle Ben, but Uncle Owen. I'll go and do what you want to do. I'm okay with it. No worries.
No.
Nobody's going to do that. That would make the movie even more like less realistic than it was. So yeah,
it would make
Mark
Luke
Hamill,
a less realistic character to do that.
Exactly. Mark Hamill, hats off to you. You're the heart and soul of the Star Wars franchise. You always have been. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, to really give credit, Mark Hamill, I think, more so than any of cast members, past or present, has been the greatest. And Anthony Daniels, I think, is maybe a close second. But Mark Hamill, I think, has been the ambassador of Star Wars since '77. And I think it's because Mark Hamill is a geek. Mark Hamill was the only cast member who thought, oh, this is going to be a really cool movie. Because he read comic books. He watched Flash Gordon. And since then, he talks about how he thinks it's horrible that people trashed on Jake Lloyd because he was a 7-year-old kid acting.
Hayden Christensen, too.
Yeah, he has always been there. He has always been someone who listen, I love Harrison Ford. He's my favorite actor of all time. But, Harrison can get a little grumpy when people, want to talk about just Star Wars with him. Whereas Mark Hamill, it seems like he's totally fine. You want to, he's totally happy.
Well, and
it's something I have always loved and admired and respected about him is that and it's not just Star Wars. It's Batman.
Yeah.
It's The Flash. It's everything he's had. I mean, that's why he still is playing the trickster on The Flash on CW which he played in 2 episodes in the 90s show, because he just enjoys being a part of these fandoms and enjoys people celebrating stuff.
And think about it, I mean, like, he played Luke Skywalker, on The Simpsons. He came out there and he played Luke. He played a similar, character in James Silent Bob's Strike Back.
Cockknocker.
He's always carried the flag for Star Wars and carried it proud, and not something that he's tried to hide behind. And you know what? If a show calls him up, or a movie calls him up and says, "Hey, I want you to do something Luke Skywalker-esque," he'll be like, "Sure," and get involved with it. So, like I said, hats off to him. I don't think I agree with you 100%. I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves. And you know what? If Jake Lloyd and Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman and pretty much anybody from the Ahmed Best, I got your back, brother. You know what? Jar Jar is not as bad, but we will talk about Jar Jar at another time. I think, just because that we could go on for an hour just on Jar Jar and his importance.
To be honest, knowing how me and Sandy stand on these things, we will most definitely do an episode on sequels versus prequels. Most definitely. The thing is, too, is that I love about Star Wars is the fandom is so, for as divided as the fandom gets online, which they do, actually in person, some of the best people I've met are Star Wars fans, and I've met them one time. Waiting in line for Last Jedi, I remember I was 3rd in line with my siblings, and I remember, my siblings had went to go and get snacks and stuff, and I went because I'm a crazy Star Wars fan. I mean, I was there, and I had my A New Hope t-shirt on. I had my shirt that looks like Luke Skywalker's jacket from Empire. I had that on. I was all right, and I'm standing there, and I just got in a conversation with the guys in front of me. One of the guys, like you, Sandy, had seen every Star Wars movie since 1977 in the theaters, opening day. 2 other guys. I'll never forget having a conversation with these 2 guys, and we were talking about, it's been 2 years since the last one and all this, and we're like, then we're going to have to just wait another 2 years before the next one. And this moment, I'll never forget. This is the thing about that I love being a Star Wars fan. Walk out of Last Jedi screening. My siblings want to go to the bathroom. I don't need to go. I'm just standing there. The guy who I was talking to earlier, I see him, and I go, "Hey, did you like the movie?" He goes, "Yeah," and then he just goes, 2 years. Haven't seen the dude since. Maybe I'll see him at Episode 9. Who knows? But just those connective moments you have as Star Wars fans. Like, it's that thing that is just, we all know the language. We all know the love. And we're just able to express it. I mean, it was also the thing, like, I'm standing online. My siblings, I had to go and give them their tickets. Come back. Go back to my line. No one was, "Oh, hey, you're cutting line." Like, they all like, "Oh, yeah, I saw he was online talking to these guys." There was no, like, "Oh, f*** you, get out, you go to the back of the line." Like, there was no bad blood. They were all like, "Yeah, you were here before us. Go right ahead."
Real fandom. Like, we're not talking the trolls that just jump on a web page. They're the casual fans, and then they drop stupid comments just to rile everybody up. I'm talking real fandom. Like I said, I'm an older guy, but I'm a geek at heart. So I went to the bookstore at midnight, every single time J.K. Rowling dropped a new Harry Potter book, and I was in line with 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 12-year-olds, and stuff like that. But they all just gathered around me and started to call me Hagrid because I was 2 feet taller than the rest of them were, and it was like they were waiting for the Hogwarts Express, and it was just a great time. "Oh, what book is your favorite? Oh, mine's this. Oh, you really like that part." That's the kind of fandom that I'm talking about. And this thing, like I said, I told you my story about Revenge of the Sith, and staying in line and having people walk by and in costume and, "Hey, buddy, can I take a picture?" Yeah, and and they just, and it's no, God, come on. I'm like, there's none of that. It's pure fandom and pure enjoyment of what you love. And when you're around a group of people like that, you really can immerse yourself into all of that love and all of that caring for one specific thing that you care about so much too. You found your clan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's who you are. Those are your people. And like I said, when it's pure like that, and there's no just, like nobody that doesn't like these movies shows up at 12:01 to go to a movie. It's all the people who want this movie to be awesome, who really, really love the stories in the franchise. Those are the people that we love. We want to hang out with those people. We want to meet those people because, yeah, I bet you, next year, you're gonna, or is it?
No, it's next year. Next year,
it's 19. That's right. It's 2019. So yeah, I bet you go into lineup in 2019. For episode 9. I bet you that dude's there, and I bet you he remembers you because that's what kind of fandom is. Fandom is like that. So the good fans. I mean, we all know that there's dicks out there.
Listen, there are the bad fans, and we're not saying that they listen. You walk around Comic-Con, there are people who are assholes, and they're, your costume's stupid because this movie sucks. Like, they exist not just online, okay? But there's that thing of just like, I never met this dude in my life. Never knew who he was. The connective tissue of, hey, we're all Star Wars fans. Let's just have a conversation about it. Let's just talk about it, and everyone's got their own story. Everyone's got their own. Some people saw, A New Hope first. Some people saw a movie. I saw Star Wars when it was screwed up. The order I saw Star Wars in, I will never show my kid. That's the thing. Every Star Wars fan always likes to talk about. What order will I show the movies in? And I'm like, well, I can't show it the order that I was introduced because I saw Episode 1, Episode 4, Episode 5, Episode 6, Episode 2, Episode 3. Because when I saw Star Wars, it was 2000. There were only 4 Star Wars movies for me to see. Yeah. There were only 4.
Yeah. No, and that's like when people ask me the best order to watch, the best order to watch them in, I always say go 1 through 6. The prequels, then all the way to there. Mm-hmm. But if I have somebody that's a little bit leery on the prequels and really needs to get into Star Wars, really needs to get into Star Wars, I'll say go 4, 5, 6, and then if you like them, go back and watch the prequels. And watch them in the order that they were chronologically released. But
my thing is, if I met someone who had never seen Star Wars before, I do chronological because I think you get the reveal of Vader as the father. Because I think that is a little bit more. And Lucas has talked about this himself, where he's like, when you watch 1 to 6, Vader's a much more tragic character because you've seen who he was. But my favorite order when I do May the 4th, or when I'm just like, I just want to watch Star Wars, my favorite order to watch the movies, it's the machete order. It's my favorite order to watch Star Wars in now. And yes, it does cut out some of the movies, but when I want to have a binge session of Star Wars, I love, which if you guys don't know, machete order is you watch A New Hope, Empire, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi. You get, because what you do is you watch A New Hope and Empire, and you get Luke. You get the story of Luke, and then at the end you find out Vader is Anakin. And then you watch 2 and 3 to get the story of Anakin, because then when you go into Revenge of the Sith, that whole talk they're having on the bridge on Endor, it's all heightened because you literally just saw these 2 characters' stories kind of parallel each other, and to come to that close, it is... I love it. I love watching that order. I found it a couple of years ago just by chance, and I tried it once, and it is now the order I watch Star Wars in. Nice.
Yeah, I honestly, I've heard of the machete order before. I haven't done it. I haven't done it, but I have to rewatch all of them pretty quick because you know me, I write questions. So
yes.
It's so I have to. So I think probably I will. I'll probably watch the machete order for the next time I rewatch everything, just to see how it works out and to see if I enjoy it a little bit more. But yeah. As a fan of the Phantom Menace, it hurts me when they say just cut that one out, right? So it's
but you do understand because sadly, just by the age, Anakin really starts to parallel Luke in Attack of the Clones.
Yeah,
which I'm a prequelist, hard and true. I'm fine with saying my favorite version of Anakin is Attack of the Clones. I'm fine with saying that. Maybe it's just because of my age and I idolized Hayden Christensen growing up.
Yeah, maybe.
That I still like Attack of the Clones. I'm fine with saying that. I still like. No, you know what? Fuck it. I love Attack of the Clones, and I love Phantom Menace. Yeah. I love those movies. I hate when it's like people are like, those two are shit, and Revenge of the Sith it's okay, it gets a pass. I'm like, you know what? Fine. You know what? You can regurgitate Mr. Plinkett videos at me all you want. It's not gonna hurt my love of the prequels. Like, and you know what the thing is? I watch those videos. I laugh my ass off. You know why? Because I admit there are problems with the movies.
Sure.
It doesn't affect anything. There are problems with the 1960 Star Trek series. Still one of my top 5 TV shows of all time. Yeah, are the effects kind of bad? Are the aliens kind of cheap? Sure. Still love the show.
There are very few movies out there that I would consider perfect, that I would consider as close to perfect as possible. And I can absolutely guarantee you, with the exception of Empire, the entirety of all the Star Wars movies that we have are not perfect.
They're all flawed.
If people want to go out there and, as a prequelist, because you know that I am, the simple fact is if people want to bitch and complain about the dialogue, I will send you links of Harrison Ford talking about the original trilogy and how they sat there every day and going, you can read this shit, but you can't say it, George.
No, I would say it to George, you can type this shit, but you can't say it.
Say it. Exactly. And so, like, all the movies had problems. Like, all the movies had their faults in it, too. Like, I think there's a large fan base out there of the Star Wars fans that romanticize the original trilogy and like, sort of, like, slough off the prequels because they didn't match some, miraculous thing.
Yeah.
What people don't seem to understand about the prequels, as much as you want to slag on them, it was an original story. Like, it was an original story based off of characters from a previous story, but it was original. And it gave us some backstory. And yeah, if you don't like the political stuff, fine. Okay, I get you. But that's so important to what happens in 77, 80, and 83. They're so connected when you watch them all together. And
that's the thing, and that's my biggest issue with Force Awakens: The Last Jedi has been, I felt a disconnect from the original 6. I have, and I honestly think it is the lack of Lucas's involvement. That's just me. Because when you look at a guy who he had control over the first 6 movies, there's a real connectivity. And now they threw out his story treatments, and you know what? Fine. But the thing is, I don't feel like it's just that, because Rogue One, I feel like, is my favorite Star Wars trilogy. I said this because I've been listening to Rule of Two, which is a great podcast. Mark Fernandez, my favorite Star Wars podcast out there. I realized my favorite Star Wars trilogy is an unofficial one because it is Revenge of the Sith, Rogue One, and A New Hope. Watch those as their own. Like, don't watch 1, 2, just start with Sith, then watch Rogue One, and then watch A New Hope. There is a complete story there, and it is fantastic. And Rogue One fits in there, whereas there's just so many... I don't really want to get into it. We'll get into it in another episode, but it's just... Like, the reason why I could say my favorite film of all time is first 6 Star Wars movies is because they feel like one story. So I think actually an interesting thing to talk about here is our favorite versions of the characters. So you said Vader is your favorite. Which version of Vader? Because you got a couple to choose from. Now I'm putting you on the spot there.
Yeah. So are we counting? Are we counting non-robotic Anakin as when he's been deemed Darth Vader, or are we only talking?
Well, yeah. If you want to say Revenge of the Sith is your favorite depiction of Vader, go right ahead.
I'm not going to. I just wanted to make sure because we didn't get enough.
Whatever
But we didn't get enough Anakin.
Interpretation you want to make on this, go right ahead.
I'm gonna say, and this is gonna shock a lot of people because it's not in my, it's definitely not in my top 5. I don't even know if it's in my top 7 of movies. But my favorite depiction of Vader is Rogue One. The scene in Rogue One where Krennic comes and visits him, and he just sits there and he just toys with him a little bit, and he's in his castle, he's in his element, and Krennic is sitting there whining at him, and he's just like,
Jedi was destroyed in a mining incident. Did you just come here to squabble?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you're right. That connectivity that we see from Rogue One to A New Hope, what we didn't see in A New Hope, that we got to see at the end of Rogue One, is my favorite Darth Vader scene out of every single movie. It is so ridiculous,
so perfect
to see him so powerful and so in his prime and so evil, like just feeding off of the fear and the hatred that he has, and just like winging people up in the air and holding them there while he's slashing other people and then slamming them down, and you'd like, so just to let you know that he's still got control of everything with the Force.
Yeah.
It's so badass.
It encapsulates why Vader is my favorite movie villain of all time.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you understand why everyone in the Star Wars galaxy fears him. And the other thing I love about that scene is it also shows the heroics of the rebels. Because I love how, at first, it's just trying to get the door open, and then they realize, and they just go, take this. Like, I love how it's not like, no, open the door, don't leave me. They're just like, no, take it. You gotta take the plane. You gotta just run. You gotta run. Let me die. Take this and run. Like, it's such a great little... That's the other thing I love about Rogue One, is, like, it was the first time where it was, none of these people have the Force, none of them are whipping out a lightsaber, it's all the ground troops. They all have their stories to tell. Like, my favorite Star Wars comic book story of all time is from the Visionaries graphic novel. And it's Entrenched. It's the story of Mon Mothma's son, who was actually a commander on Hoth. It's, if you've never seen it, read it. It's such a great thing where, like, you see a bunch of stuff from the Battle of Hoth from, like, ground troops' perspectives. Like, and it is so great. And the end of the comic, I'm going to spoil it here. Have you read it, Sandy?
I haven't yet, no.
Okay.
That's okay.
I'm going to spoil it because, it's not canon anymore, which, boy, oh, me and Sandy we could certainly get into a whole...
Yeah.
that. But the end of the comic is... They're running through, actually. There's, like, 3 guys left, and they're running through, and they're like, oh, there's a ship in this area we can get to. It's the Millennium Falcon. It's just blasted out, and Vader's standing there, and the dude literally goes, oh, crap. And then Vader's like, take them. And they're running to get to another ship. Mon Mothma's son gets blasted in the shoulder. He's out. He gives him, like, a recorder that he had, and gives it to his friend. He says, give this to my mother. They fly out. He pulls out his blaster to hold Vader off, and then he's out. Vader holds him up and is like, tell me where the rendezvous point is. And Mon Mothma's son just spits in his helmet, and Vader just... And as a kid reading that, it was just like the first time I was like... Because I had seen Empire like 95 times at that point, and you see like when the AT-ATs are blasting the guys, I'm like, oh, that sucks, but like, you're down in the trenches with these guys, and you're like, holy shit. Like, you see the dude who goes, Imperials are under the base, and you see Stormtrooper shoots him in the back. Or Snowtrooper, I should say. Snowtrooper shoots... Seriously, Sandy, look up this comic. This is your type of story. As the Star Wars fan I know, you would love this comic. It's amazing. And that's the thing I love about Rogue One, is it's all that. Like, it is all... that it's all people who, you know, and I give it to them that they didn't let any of them survive. And my dream is one day I'll be good enough at Photoshop and at video editing that I can edit a new version of A New Hope where the ending is the crew of Rogue One as Force spirits at the medal ceremony. That is my dream, that I can one day edit that, because that'd be so fucking cool. If I knew how to do that stuff, I would.
Absolutely, and I mean, and don't get me wrong. I mean, like, I love Empire Strikes Back Vader. Like, I mean, Empire Strikes Back Vader is
he's
think,
awesome. But I'm with you. Rogue One.
Yeah,
is my favorite.
but that like the way he is, I like to think that he's at the peak of his absolute power. Like, you know, other than if he'd have been, you know, remained human. Yeah. But the simple fact is he's so badass, and he gives us they made that movie and they put that in there for all of us. Like, why were they so scared? Why were those rebels so scared? Why were they all one by one on the wall holding their guns, you know, and then you see other things and blaster shots come through. Why were they so scared of Vader? Well, guess what? You have a movie that shows it. That's why they're so fucking scared. Yeah. That's why. Because he's that bad. So,
and it's the thing I love too is when the lightsaber comes out, you just get, it's very similar to Empire, where you just get the silhouette with the lightsabers, which is one of the greatest shots and stars is from Empire, when they pull out their lightsabers and they just hold them for a second, you just get that great sort of, I love it. But yeah, Vader in that movie is so brilliant, and it's, oh my god, Rogue One is amazing. That movie is.
If there's anybody out there that's good at screenshots and can high res stuff, I'll tell you this right now. I would not say no if somebody got me a picture of Vader standing at that open port right at the end as the Tantive 5 escapes, and
you just hear slightly the Imperial March.
That's right, and then he just got his lightsaber, and then he just shuts his lightsaber off. But they're just with the lightsaber on. They're just standing there like going, "Damn it, I'm gonna get you, mothers!" And then of course he just goes right out and gets him. So
why he is the way he is in the opening of New Hope, like, he's pissed, you know?
Yeah. Well, and think about it from the 77 standpoint. Like, we all go thinking this is going to be like, yay, it's going to be a fun old movie and stuff like that. And what happens in the first...
It starts in the middle. Like, it starts in the middle of the story.
It starts in the middle. So in the first 10 minutes, we see Darth Vader go and take the captain, and then you hear the of his neck as he chucks him across the room.
It's dark.
That's in the first 10 minutes.
It's dark. Like, it's dark. Like, a lot of people don't realize Star Wars is a dark film franchise. Okay?
Yeah.
Like, it's actually, like, it's amazing that my parents let me watch it when I was I said, you know what one of my favorite stories of Star Wars is, actually? This is back, so when I was a kid, I had, like, a little DVD player. And it was actually the Ewok movies where I realized this thing, where if I hid under my cover, I could watch movies and my parents wouldn't know, and I could stay up late, which, by the way, staying up late was probably, like, my bedtime was 7, and I went to sleep at 9 because I watched a movie. Yeah, I was a real badass kid, but I'll never forget, we had the Revenge of the Sith DVD, and I tell you, when I got that, I watched it, like, every night. Like, not a joke, and I'll never forget my sisters, because, again, I'm stupid, so I would just, like, my sisters pulling off my comforter and being like, how can you watch this movie and go to sleep? Because, mind you, this is a movie where a dude at the end gets his arm and legs chopped off and then is set on fire. And I was just like, how could you not watch this? Like, I watched that movie when we got that DVD, like, every night. Like, the Revenge of the Sith is just one of those movies that's just, like, I remember so much around. I remember going to my first Force Friday. I remember going into Walmart. We didn't go when it, but the day the toys came, or maybe around the time the toys came out, I remember my parents being very nice, and we got an action figure and a lightsaber. And I got the Revenge of the Sith Anakin figure, and the lightsaber that I still have in my closet, where you can change it from blue to red, you can change the blade, and my brother got we were very lucky. I was the Anakin kid in the family, my brother was Obi-Wan, so he got Obi-Wan's figure and lightsaber, and when we got home, I remember the AA batteries went in there, me and my brother were just battling out. It was, man, you know what, that's something that I love about Star Wars, is, like, those moments where I could just remember playing with that lightsaber, and just, I wanted to be Anakin Skywalker. Sure, did he kill a bunch of Tusken Raiders? When I was 7, I didn't care. I idolized him. That's why my dream is one day I get to go to one of these Star Wars celebrations or something, and I get to meet Hayden Christensen. So I can tell him that I know you got a lot of crap, but dude, I idolized you as a kid. Like, when I saw Attack of the Clones, Luke Skywalker was no longer my favorite character. Anakin Skywalker was my guy. And it stuck with, for a very long time, actually. Anakin was my guy. Like, a very long time.
I'm such a huge Hayden fan because he's Canadian, and he started out on this little show called Higher Ground. It was just this local Canadian show where it was a bunch of troubled teens off in they were in the woods trying to learn how to be better humans. And he was great in that. And that's the first time I ever saw him and was really impressed. But if you really want to watch a good Hayden Christensen movie, watch Life as a House with Kevin Kline.
Shattered Glass is also great.
Shattered Glass is also really great. Well, I mean, Jumper's a really good movie, too.
I have not seen Jumper, actually.
It's good.
I know I need to. I haven't seen
it.
Because it's Mace Windu and Anakin in a movie together again. I know that.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I mean, he gets an awful lot of crap, just like, like we've talked about the people that, have, taken a lot of shit for Star Wars over the years and stuff like that. But my hope is that because the fandom is always so great, that we saw at this last Star Wars celebration, Hayden and Jake got an awful lot of love from people. Wedge, Wedge is finally, Dennis Lawson has come back into the fold, a little bit to start, thanking the fans. I just think the fandom is so great that people can't stay away, and people don't stay angry with Star Wars for as long as people get angry at other movies.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more forgiveness in Star Wars fans.
I think the other thing is with, especially people like Hayden, is I think there's this thing of, you get this shit online, and you get this shit from, the Plinkett videos, and you get all this crap, but it's like, when you go to these celebrations, the 40th anniversary thing, when he comes out with Ian McDiarmid, everyone's losing their freaking minds. And I'm sure he did signings. I'm sure he had nothing but people who had stories like I had of just wonder why. I think that's why. And I think it's like we talked about where we've, I fairly certain you have, like me, we've had bad interactions with fellow Star Wars fans online who, Rogue One's a shit movie. How could you like the prequels? Blah, 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 blah. But we also have great interactions when we meet people. I'm sure for Hayden, it's the same thing. I feel bad that he's gotten crap, but I'm sure he's gotten just, especially in the last few years, I think he's probably even gotten more love. Because I think, with the way the fandom is growing, you have to remember, there are kids who are growing up now who don't have any baggage of what the prequel should be. They just have, like I did. I didn't have any baggage of what the prequel should be. They were just movies. They were just Star Wars movies to me, especially new ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
and that's the, like, child actors, I think, child or young adult actors often get a lot of crap, and it's not their fault. Like, it's not their fault that it's, that they're young and they're doing a job. Like, they're doing the job to the best of their abilities. I mean, look at Tom Welling from Smallville. Took a ton of crap, for that show, and now he's just starting to go back, to Comic-Cons and stuff like that. Because it meant, like, the show means something to people. So just like with Star Wars, just like, look at Macaulay Culkin from Home Alone. I mean, how many years of crap did that poor kid take? Like, it's a gong show for the longest time. I mean, it happens in every aspect of fandom, movies all over the place. But I do honestly believe it, and this comes straight from the heart, and I'm not trying to suck up to Star Wars fan, because I am a Star Wars fan. So, but the simple fact is that I do think Star Wars fans Star Wars and Star Trek fans are some of the best fans bases out there, and very, very forgiving, and I think that you'll look back now, and we have this new trilogy coming out. Let's see how the end of this trilogy works out, because this trilogy has been as divisive, I would say as divisive, if not even more so than the actual prequels.
Yeah.
So let's see how this one wraps up and see where people, that's the beautiful thing about what we do on the internet, is we get to sit here and make lists of our favorite Star Wars movies ranked all over the place. And they're always going to be different. Like, they're always going to be different. You can talk, me and you would have similar lists, but, you know, me and, me and somebody else would have
Clark. Me and Clark probably have very different we do.
Exactly.
I've seen his list, which, by the way, me and Sandy, very soon, we're probably going to have to do, rank the 10 Star Wars movies we have. And,
all right.
I mean, I already have my list, so if you get one together, we could probably have a whole discussion about the rankings and where some films lie. And man,
I think we have the topic of our next episode. So
probably. I think so. And you know what? Honestly, I think this is actually with that. I think this is a great spot to start wrapping up the first episode of Rhyme and Reason. So, Sandy, where can the good people find you online?
I'm all over the community, guys. You can see me on Full Metal Media. You can see me in Worldwide Movie Games competing. But more recently, as a member of Take 3, you can see me here with Matt, sometimes doing reactions to the Schmodown. You can see me on Late Night with Take 3 every once in a while. And here doing our very own show, me and Matt here doing Rhyme or Reason. At Facebook and Twitter, Robinson 1799. You can find me there.
And you guys, as always, can find me at Coons_Matthew on Twitter, MattMoose6 on YouTube, and right here as co-host of Rhyme and Reason. I also host Second Look, and I'm the interim host of Summit. I can't wait till Kristen Smith gets back. Oh my god. But yeah, I've had so much fun talking about this. Please, guys, like and share this video around. Word of mouth helps. Take 3. Comment below what you like about the show. What didn't you like? What topics do you want us to cover? Do you want us to go into why we think it would suck if Henry Cavill left the DCEU? Do you want us to talk about Star Trek? We could do what topics do you guys want us to talk about? Let us know. We'll probably be very open to suggestion. Also, what Take 3 people would you maybe like to see come on the show? We're probably going to have a guest, who knows, in the future. So yeah, just let us know in the comments. And thank you guys so much for watching. Until the next episode, on behalf of Sandy and myself, take care.